Mayo experience Week 7 rankings debate from each position, joining me like he does every single week to break it all down and discuss my terrible rankings versus his really accurate rankings. It's Jake Ciely from RotoExperts.com, from the Fantasy Sports Network and Fantasy Radio, the app, the radio station, the internet radio streaming station, whatever you want to call it. Jake, what's up, dude?
Not too much, yeah. I can't believe you kind of emphasize that. You come next week and you say week 8, we're going to be saying, hey, we're halfway through the season already.
Yeah, I'm going to try to stay away from that one. I can't believe how quickly everything's going by, though.
It feels like that happens every single year. So like, oh my God, I can't believe we're already at blank.
I mean, I have very poor short-term memory. Sorry, very poor long-term memory. I can't even remember what I'm trying to talk about. So maybe it's both poor short and long-term. But like every single year, it seems to go faster and faster and faster. Like, it's nuts.
It is. I think maybe it's just the feeling of every single season, because you also have those people this year, like, I can't believe the injuries, and it's never been this bad. And I went back and looked at last year, and it was just as bad last year.
Yeah, the names this year are a bit different, though. It's really big names who've been going out.
It has been. I mean, obviously, David Johnson, Odell Beckham, and now Aaron Rodgers. But, I mean, last year, too, we had top 10 running backs and top 10 wide receivers. Like, Dalvin Cook, if we would have said that at the beginning of the year, despite, like, people like myself who were on him, I mean, that wasn't supposed to be a big name at the beginning of the year.
All right, well, let's jump right into it then. Running backs, in case you lost David Johnson or Delvin Cook and you have a bunch of scrubs and you need to know who to play, the top 10 for me goes a little something like Le'Veon Bell at number 1, Kareem Hunt at number 2, followed by Leonard Fournette, even with the ankle injury, Melvin Gordon, LaShawn McCoy, Devonta Freeman, Todd Gurley, Jerick McKinnon, DeMarco Murray, and C.J. Anderson, number 9 and 10. For reference, I have Bilal Powell, Leonard Fournette, and Rob Kelly in the rankings, and guys that I do not have in right now, and this could change throughout the week once we get more information. So if you go to dkplaybook.com, you can find my updated rankings at the end of every single day to update in case someone moves in or out of activity when it comes to being on the field in Week 7. So there's no Wendell Smallwood, Paul Perkins, Brendan Oliver, Terrence West, Charkandrick West, or Robert Turbin. And I apparently have misspelled the word elbow in my column. So I'll have to update that. It's a bit of a spoiler right now. If you're watching this before or if you're listening to this before I put the video out, maybe I've forgotten to do it and it says L-O. Anyway, do you have a problem with anyone inside that top 10? Because people are going to be like, oh, DeMarco Murray got tracked down by a linebacker. He's no good. And Derrick Henry's so good. He outscored him last week. But like with the way that game was shaping up and the way that the touches went, it was all DeMarco Murray until basically garbage time.
Yeah, it was, until the time where the bettors in Vegas went bananas because of the over-under being 7 there, or the spread being 7. The only problem I have with your top 10 is actually thumbs up to straight all the way down the list is, I hate to tell you this, but there's somebody that deserves to be in that top 10.
Who is it?
Mark Ingram.
Okay, well, this is what we're going to do. It's funny because, as people know, I don't rank Mark Ingram because he's the spawn of Satan. I don't want to condone those sorts of people out in the world. However, I did ask you to put him into the rankings, and it's funny because, there's been previous years where Mark Ingram's been okay, but I never rank him anyway, and then people get upset. It's like, oh, where's Mark Ingram in the rankings? But you know what? I haven't heard any of that until last week, until after the game. So you need to start ranking Mark Ingram. I'm not going to do it, but I will let you do it. Where are you going to put him in my rankings?
I'm going to put him right behind Jerick McKinnon in front of DeMarco Murray.
So he comes in at number 9 in the rankings, according to you.
Let me preface it with, is just as you always say, I don't feel great about it, but I feel better than at least in years past because they brought in Kyrie Robinson, but they still haven't signed him. So it's still Ingram and his Kamara at this point. So I feel good, just I can never feel great. Well, you know this, Pat. He could come fumble the ball in the first 5 carries and be staying on the sideline for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, Mark Ingram chalk week is one of the reasons that I hate Mark Ingram so much is that when he's projected to go off in a spot, he usually does absolutely nothing. And then in the spot where it looks like, nothing's working his way, then he goes off. It's really just kind of the tantalizing / awful part of owning him. But it's set up perfectly for him last week. Everyone was on him, and he came through. And now people are like, oh, he's a top 3 running back. Back off that a little bit, people.
You're 100% right. And it's actually, another situation I'm sure we'll talk about. It's like the Ravens so far this year. The Ravens, when they're supposed to be passing and down from behind, it's like Alex Collins, and when Alex Collins is supposed to be up and they're running the ball and doing great, it's supposed to be him, and it's not, and it ends up being Buck Allen. So you're right, it's a very similar situation. You never know what Mark Ingram you're going to get.
All right, so the 11 to 20 range, I'm going Carlos Hyde, Jay Ajayi, Jordan Howard. I don't expect him to carry the ball 36 times again, so and therefore he can't be a top 3 running back for me. Now, if he does, he might be once again, but I am dubious about that. Then it goes Christian McCaffrey, Duke Johnson, Adrian Peterson, Darren McFadden, Joe Mixon, Doug Martin, James White. Once I got to Jordan Howard in these rankings, maybe Christian McCaffrey, because the floor is so high in PPR scoring that he's very safe. The upside hasn't quite come through as of yet, but just every single week he's not killing you being in, and frankly, sometimes at running back, that's all you need, just a very safe floor, and I like that with Christian McCaffrey for, again, PPR scoring, which these rankings are. Then you have the who-knows factor, Mixon and McFadden and Adrian Peterson. Is Adrian Peterson the best sell high in fantasy right now? Because I took a lot of heat for being so down on him last week, and deservedly so. He had a great game in my face, but if they're not going to be winning every game by 24 points, then I don't think that Adrian Peterson's going to touch the ball quite as much.
No, he's a terrific sell high, and the perfect example is just go to Twitter and look at the people there asking, what should I do? And people are coming and saying, like, should I trade him for, I think it was CJ. Oh, yeah, it was CJ Anderson and Amari Cooper. I was like, do it before the person changes their mind, because the fact is, yes, he could be a top 20 running back going forward. Look, the entire industry, you took heat, I took heat. Nobody was on Adrian Peterson, and there were so many reasons for it. Looked like crap before he got hurt last year, looked like crap this year. The Cardinals blocking when it comes to run looks like crap, and then all of a sudden all that went out the window, and he looked terrific, and it looked like the old Adrian Peterson from 3 years ago. So there's still concern here, but it looks like he'll be the lead option. I don't think he's going to put those kind of games together for the rest of the year. I'd be surprised if he has another 3 games like that, but I think you have to say top 20, but to your point, people are already ready to treat him as an RB1, and he's not.
No, because the big thing that's going to happen with Adrian Peterson is going to be the game script. And if the Cardinals fall behind in a game, Adrian Peterson's not going to be on the field. I hate to tell you. Andre Ellington will be out there, and this is a 3.5-point game in London against the Rams. Now, I guess the one good thing is that you can run on the Rams, and that's why I still have Adrian Peterson inside my top 20. But if they fall behind in this game, let's say the Rams jump out to a 10-0 lead, you're just going to see a lot of Andre Ellington on the field, which we didn't see at all last week because they were winning by so much.
Yep, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more. And that's I'm down a little bit on Andre Ellington because I don't like trusting the pass-catching only running backs. But if we're trying to do what we do and predict how games should go and everything like that, this is a game where, again, Adrian Peterson, where you have him ranked decently, I think this is a game where you see a little bit more balance between the two. And there will be, as you said, there will be games where it completely swings back to Andre Ellington.
All right, let's talk Joe Mixon going up against the Steelers. And this is a really bizarre game for me because I really have no idea how it's going to go. But you can kind of run on the Steelers, although Kareem Hunt did not last week because they didn't try to run the ball whatsoever. And Pittsburgh was very disruptive in the backfield against a beat-up offensive line in Kansas City. The Bengals' offensive line has been getting progressively better since week 1. And I actually tweeted out, and we'll talk about this when we get to A.J. Green, his just career numbers against the Steelers. And some of them are very good in the very beginning of his career. It was very bad, and people just really took it in a whole bunch of different directions, which I was not really expecting. But it seems like that you can run against the Steelers. I think they will try to run. Do you trust Mixon as a running back too? Or like the reason that I have him ranked up here is because of upside purposes. I don't know what his floor is right now though, and I would project him anywhere between like 13 and 20 touches. I know that's a big range, but that's what we've been seeing.
That's exactly what we probably expect. Look, his floor is probably low-end RB3, maybe even 4, honestly, because that could happen any given game. And you're right. They go down the road like last week with the Chiefs because the offensive line has been playing better. But if they regress at all and Pittsburgh's getting that kind of pressure, the good news is, like you said, you can run on them. They're actually inside the top 6 of allowing points, and they haven't even allowed a receiving touchdown yet. So just to give the idea of the volume of yards that they're also giving up to running back. So this is a game where Joe Mixon, if he's getting 15 to 20 touches, he should be an RB2. And as you mentioned, the upside, he actually has RB1 potential given this matchup because this is how you attack the Steelers. The Steelers secondary has been top 3 so far this year. And I know you mentioned the A.J. Green thing. That's going to be interesting. I'm going to be interested to see the whole discussion on A.J. Green because it's tough. You say you go with the Steelers and you go with what A.J. Green does against this team.
You just have to go with the volume of what you think is going to happen. I think that's,
Right.
I mean, in terms of like season long, you're definitely going to be starting AJ Green. You just don't have better options. And the upside that would come along with AJ Green, that benching him seems kind of ridiculous even in a tougher matchup. But like in terms of DraftKings, in terms of AJ Green, he's very expensive. He'll probably just make a nice contrarian play. But the big thing that sticks out with his stats against the Steelers over time is just the volume. It's going to be like 13 targets. And if you're going to give AJ Green 13 targets, even if he catches 5 of them, it's probably going to go for 100 yards.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. But I'm with you on this. I actually think it's going to be closer to closer to 20 than it would be towards like a dozen touches for Joe Mixon. And at that volume, I mean, and look at the point of the running backs. It's the Jay Ajayi factor here. Is like Jay Ajayi, if you're going to be carrying the ball 25 times per game, we have to treat you as an RB1 no matter what. Well, if you're going to be touching the ball close to 20 times per game, and what the running back landscape here is, even if you're only averaging 3.2 per carry, the fact is the volume is going to get you into the RB2 conversation.
All right, ready to be completely wrong about something?
Sure.
All right, Darren McFadden, Alfred Morris in this backfield. No Ezekiel Elliott. I have Darren McFadden ranked at number 17. That's either going to be way too high or way too low. I'm not quite sure how that's going to pan out. And in terms of Alfred Morris, I have him at number 33. So in my mind, that I think you're looking at like a 70-30 split between DMC and Alfred Morris. And I don't even really want to talk about Rod Smith right now. If that happens, then everyone's wrong and, sucks to be us. But I think they've kept Darren McFadden on the sidelines to get healthy, to prepare for this time coming, and against San Francisco, a team that is not good against the running backs, especially pass-catching running backs like we saw last week with Chris Thompson. Even P. Ryan ended up scoring on a receiving touchdown. If the Dallas Cowboys are going to pass to a running back, it's going to be McFadden. It's not going to be Morris. I see him being on the field more.
Then if we're going to be completely wrong, it's going to be both of us, because I completely agree. I've been saying this everything you said, exact same thing all along. Is the fact that if you watch the preseason, they were using Darren McFadden as the replacement for Ezekiel Elliott. I think they always knowing this was a potential in the back of their mind is, hey, guess what? Darren McFadden, guy gets hurt pretty often in his career, so why not keep him on the sidelines, keep him from getting hurt, so if this ever does happen, look, we have our solution. And Alfred Morris also sees a little bit of work on the special team, so it makes sense why he's been active. I think he just keeps his role as it is. Maybe he sees a little bit of uptick, but I'm with you. I fully have and always believe it's Darren McFadden stepping in for Zeke. If this is official today, they will be by the time a lot of people are watching this video, they'll know either way. So it might be way too high because it might not matter in the end of the game. But if it is Ezekiel Elliott suspended, I'm with you. Darren McFadden all the way. Alfred Morris is probably a flex play you could get some value out of.
Yeah, I mean, you could always get into the potential where Alfred Morris comes in and sneaks some goal line work and steals the touchdowns away.
That's your only concern. Because you're right about the pass catching. If they're throwing to the running back, it's not going to be Alfred Morris.
It could be Rod Smith, though, for all we know.
Yeah, that's true, but I still think I'm with you. I still think it's Darren McFadden.
Okay, so the 20 to 30 range, I have James White at number 20. I like this situation where it's probably going to be a very pass-heavy game against the Falcons. And weirdly enough, although Dion Lewis is a very good pass catcher, James White still monopolizes that, the old-school Kevin Falk-type role in the Patriots offense. We saw it in the Super Bowl with James White as well, just piling up reception. I think there's a very good floor for him in PPR. 21, I have Alvin Kamara, then Tevin Coleman. And then, where am I going here? Andre Ellington, Chris Thompson, Aaron Jones, Marshawn Lynch, Frank Gore, Buck Allen, Orleans Deacqua, and CJ Proscites, who I have the highest of the Seattle running backs. There's still no guarantee that he's going to play with the ankle injury, but he was very close 2 weeks ago. They just went on by. And the only reason that I have him ranked at number 30 is because I don't think the rest of the guys are any good. So at least give him a shot. You have to think is the Seattle game plan.
Yeah, I could see that, but I don't know. The Giants' run defense hasn't been that good this year, and it seems to be like more the people between the tackles, but then they show up everything about the run game involved with the Giants to the fact that they couldn't stop it, and then they do. They can't run, then they do. They run against the best run defense in the league, and they do. So, the Giants, I have no idea what to make of that team, so I have no problem. If you're going to go CJ Proscice, as of right now, he's the most talent if healthy, because I think that Chris Carson's still out, obviously, so... Yeah, the only ones that here, I would actually have Kamara higher. I would have Kamara way up into the top 15 range in this matchup.
So you'd have Ingram inside the top 10 and Kamara inside the top 15?
Yes, definitely. Look at what Kamara did last week. 10 carries for, 72 yards or something like that, and it was actually a down game receiving-wise. I still think he's a lock for 5+ receptions per game. Like I said, especially to go back to this against Green Bay on the road. And I know that Hundley's at quarterback, and I know we'll break that down too, but the Packers are still going to put up points, and they're not going to stop doing what they do. And I still think that Kamara is going to get 5 or 6 receptions easy. And if you give him 5 or 6 receptions plus a few handles running the ball, which they're doing right now because he's the only other option there behind Mark Ingram, I mean, you're looking at double-digit touches, and Mark Ingram or Kamara getting double-digit touches is 60, 70 yards of potential touchdown.
So would you go then like the kind of player that you're describing is like Duke Johnson in a weird way?
Yes.
Like, would you go Duke Johnson or Kamara? Because I actually prefer Duke Johnson in that situation.
And I understand that, but I trust Kamara more than Duke Johnson at this point now.
I just feel like if I'm going to get a big week out of one of them, it's probably going to be Duke Johnson because he ends up with like 9 catches because that's where they have to lean. It looks like Kaiser is going to end up starting over Hogan again, doesn't it?
See, that's where I would actually. I hate Kaiser. You know that. I think he's part of the reason this offense has looked so miserable so far this year. But Kevin Hogan was worse. So Kevin Hogan actually specifically hurt Duke Johnson, and so I would actually feel a little bit better for Duke if Kaiser is at quarterback. And I can see that. I will agree with you definitely. If between the two, if I'm shooting for that potential, I would go for Duke Johnson for the upside. But that's where I would take Kamara unless that's what I needed, unless I needed more of a home run play.
All right, well, I'll move Kamara up a little bit. You can check out the updated rankings at dkplaybook.com for that. What about, like, Chris Thompson? Should I move Chris Thompson up? Because the guy is awesome, but it's weird. I have such mixed feelings about Chris Thompson now. I'm on the guy for years, and now he's finally good. Now I don't know what to do with him.
I don't like the matchup this week. That's the problem. That's part of the problem with Chris Thompson. And second of all, we've already seen the down game, and I understand everybody's excited about last week, and everybody. I know. Look at all the 100-yard games he already has already. But remember, everybody that wanted to argue with me last week going into last week's game about Andre Ellington and the fact that he has the second most targets in the league of anybody. It doesn't matter what position you play going into that game, and it's these pass-catching running backs that I find it hard to trust. I know he started the game, and I know he got some lead carry type options, but assuming Rob Kelly's still out, Samaje Perine is that bulldozer type of guy. When people throw out the cliches of, he wears down defenses, he is that guy. I think that if Kelly's out, he is going to see more touches this week just to be that kind of option and get more of a balance. You don't want a 5'8", 180, 5'9", 180 running back carrying the ball 20 or touching the ball 20-plus times a game, or else guess what? Look, Ty Montgomery, who's bigger than him, he got killed. What are you trying to do, the same thing to Chris Thompson?
Well, I actually think that Rob Kelly's going to be back this week.
Really? So, okay, well, that actually makes me feel even less excited for Chris Thompson, honestly.
Yeah, so I think Chris Thompson's still the superior player out of the bunch, probably the least likely to get a touchdown in terms of like red zone work, but the most to get receptions and yardage. So I have him at number 24. I have Rob Kelly at... Did I say Rob Kelly's name? Where the hell do I have Rob Kelly? 42.
No, he's way down there, and that's deserved. I mean, look, the Eagles' run defense is top 3.
And then I have P. Ryan down even lower than that at 58. So I think that if Kelly plays, he kind of takes back his role from P. Ryan, who just, frankly, hasn't looked very good, to be perfectly honest with you. And that Thompson is sort of the reception/upside play if he can break one. I don't feel super confident in any of them, though. How about the Green Bay running backs? I have Aaron Jones at 25 and Ty Montgomery at 31. Although the carries were close last week, Aaron Jones significantly outsnapped Ty Montgomery, and he actually did more production with the touches that he got. Now, that could shift back more now that Ty Montgomery gets healthier and healthier, although he looked pretty healthy against the Vikings, and I'm just not sure how this offense is going to look with Brett Hundley as opposed to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking it pushes back closer to a 50-50 this week. As you said, he came out, I guess we can say, quote-unquote, healthy, because he basically didn't aggravate the injury. And that's all we really wanted to see, especially from that. And as you mentioned, the touches were close to even. I know the snaps weren't, but that just kind of tells you the use of when they're on the field, what they plan to do. So I could see that going forward. It's like, all right, might we get out of this game and say, Aaron Jones had 12 more snaps than him, but the touches were the same again. So I'm looking at the usage being more 50-50. And with Hundley at quarterback, and I talked about this before because I went back to my draft profile what they broke down into. If he's in the pocket, he's actually pretty comfortable in the pocket. It's all going to come down to the Packers' offensive line because when he starts to get the pocket collapsed or starts to scramble, that's when things start to go wrong, and especially because he drops his eyes and loses his light side of his receivers. But the thing is where I think they might help dispel that a little bit is to use Ty Montgomery more out of the backfield on these little short wings outs and over the middle of the field and little cross things and all that type of stuff. So that's why I think we get more to it 50-50, and I would actually move Ty Montgomery. I like Aaron Jones where you have him, but I would move Ty Montgomery closer to Aaron Jones.
Would you play him over Marshawn Lynch?
Yes, Marshawn Lynch is. I don't want to start him if I don't have to.
I don't want to start him either. What? Talk about things I was super wrong about this year. I thought that Marshawn Lynch. I just thought he would get a bunch of goal line touches, but I vastly overrated how much Oakland was going to score.
I was completely with you. The thing, I'll go back and this is how wrong I was. This is my exact thing that I said was, look at Latavius Murray last year. He didn't need 200 carries. He didn't need 800 yards, and he scored double-digit touchdowns. I'm pretty sure Marshawn Lynch could do the same. That's what I said. So that's, boom, out the window.
How do you feel about Derrick Henry this week?
I think, look, Derrick Henry did this earlier this year. It's the same thing as you can't trust Derrick Henry in your lineup. And if you take away that run at the end of the – and I hate that argument, so you know that. I hate when people are like, take away that run. But usually it's a take away that run. People want to make that argument like for Isaiah Crowell last year, and it was in the middle of the second quarter. It wasn't at the end of the game in garbage time, which that's what that was at that point, was garbage time. And it was looked like the defenders didn't know if they should tackle him or if they shouldn't. I mean, there was even a possible the NFL was going to investigate the play today and say, like, this is something we need to look at for what happened with Vegas. So I don't think you can put Derrick Henry in your lineup. And DeMarco Murray, as you mentioned when we were talking about him, he was far out touching, out snapping until that point of the game.
Jets running backs, the highest one I have is Matt Forte at number 35, and I do have Powell back in the rankings. Just, I don't know. Powell's still kind of banged up. It was very clear they wanted to lean on Forte, not Elijah McGuire last week. And the Dolphins are a decent run defense, if nothing else. Like, I think if you're playing a Jets running back, you're hurting in your lineup.
Oh, yeah, you're in a miserable spot. But like you said, you don't know. The one thing we do know is they're knuckleheads. They insist on using Matt Forte if he's healthy. That's all we know.
Blunt, the best Philly running back, unless Smallwood's back, which it doesn't look like he's going to be.
Even if he is, I think we have to go with Blunt at this point, but that's another one. He's kind of he's Marshawn Lynch. Like, I don't want to have to start him, but at least, hey, he has the upside to potentially go get those 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, the touchdowns would be the biggest thing for me when it comes to that. Although I do like Smallwood as still a grab if his knee is going to be okay. I think that when he comes back and he's healthy, he will still get a chance to be the guy that plays like 65% of the snaps in this offense.
You know what? I'm feeling. I was with you, but I'm starting to feel a little bit less confident about that because they're 5-1. Like, if I feel like they're looking to the future, we'd see more potential for Smallwood. Now that they're 5-1 and things are rolling, I think that best case scenario we might see 50%.
Maybe, but they're playing like Kenyon Burner 37% of the time. Corey Clement still getting like 12% of the snaps.
I know.
Like, if you just cut those guys out, then it's really easy for Smallwood to come back in because they do trust him on the ground a little bit if Blunt's not in the game.
Right. That's true.
So I think he's he's free on the waiver wire right now. Like, no one wants him anymore. That he was probably dropped if anyone had picked him up. He's already cleared waivers. You pick him up as a free agent if you want, or put in like a $1 bid. Probably get you Wendell Smallwood. If you're hurting at running back, I'm not saying it's going to work out, but it's at least a good spot where it could work out, and that's kind of what you have to do on the waiver wire at this time of the year.
That's what you should be doing, is looking for those options, looking for the handcuffs that people don't have yet. I know we're still in the buys, but if you happen to have that room to stash the Bookers of the world and the Ecklers of the world and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's definitely the smart thing to do.
Who do you think the best handcuffs are right now? I still think that James Conner is the best one just because it doesn't seem like they're going to use anyone else. Pittsburgh is a one backfield type of team, so Conner probably walks into like 80% of the carries. And then you're probably looking like Donta Foreman up next, just because that offense is so good and there doesn't seem to be anyone else behind him. Maybe Akeem Hunt, now that Charkandrick West is dealing with a concussion, to back up Kareem Hunt. Or could it potentially be Chris Ivory with Fournette, who's already dealing with an ankle problem?
That's Chris Ivory was one of the ones you named all the ones that I put up there, and Chris Ivory was another one. I think Devontae Booker should be up there too because I think he'll be in front. I think Jamal Charles is just set in what he's doing. If C.J. Anderson gets hurt like he seemingly does every single year, even through college, I think Devontae Booker just steps in and takes his role. But yes, Chris Ivory looks like the intriguing one because the thing is, too, is if you've seen, similar to Kareem Hunt, who you just mentioned, when they get that 2-minute drill in the hurry-up offense, they don't trust rookies because that's one of the hardest things for rookie running backs to learn. Even though it's a very easy acclimation from the college game, that's the one area where they struggle. And if you looked at it, the Jaguars, the reason people are asking what the heck happened with Ivory was because that's where he was being used, was in that offense. So it's clear that he still has something left in the tank if anything were to happen to Fournette. And this is the same ankle foot thing over and over and over. I mean, he's starting to get into Julio Jones territory, and he's only a rookie.
Yeah. Let's switch to receivers. Let's talk about Julio Jones because he comes in at number 2 in my rankings, despite the fact.
Number 2.
Yeah. Do you trust Julio Jones anymore?
Yes, it's Julio freaking Jones, man. I know people are complaining about this offense and he doesn't have a touchdown, and I've seen the trade offers coming through, and every single person that asked, I got offered Julio Jones for blank. I haven't found one yet where I've said, no, don't go do it, because it's Julio Jones. This offense is going to score touchdowns with him. I'd still say if you gave me the over-under of 5.5, I'd probably go over and take 6 or more for the rest of the season. They just said, look, the team, he didn't even do it. The team came out and created the squeaky wheel grease scenario by saying we need to get him the ball more, and especially in the red zone. So if you can buy Julio Jones, please do.
So I go Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Des Bryant in a gravy matchup where we don't know what's going on at running back against the Niners. I like that spot for him. Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, Larry Fitzgerald, A.J. Green, Brendan Weber-Cooks, Demaryius Thomas without Emmanuel Sanders around, and then Adam Thielen, because I do not have Stefon Diggs in my rankings right now. Obviously, these rankings can change, but Stefon Diggs has historically not been very good, even in weeks where he just gets limited practice. He kind of needs to be fully healthy.
And he needs to be fully healthy, and the Baltimore Ravens secondary and defense has been pretty daggone good this year.
Yeah, but they don't even play anyone good, and they look like garbage.
I understand that, but I still think they have enough talent out there to be concerned. Look, Stefon Diggs at 100%, I don't care about the matchup. But you kind of set it up with the fact of if he doesn't get practice Wednesday, Thursday, that's what I'm saying here. So a limited Stefon Diggs against a decent secondary is why I'd be hesitant about this. The two that I'm concerned about inside the top 10 is one, Brandon Cooks, because I think I told you about it. I don't remember if I did, but if not, I'll bring it up right now. Is Scott Barrett from Pro Football Focus put out this article in this offseason about Brandon Cooks versus corners that run 4.4 or faster and corners that run 4.4 or slower. And the splits are, we're talking like Ben Roethlisberger home road splits for what the difference is for Brandon Cooks. And the one thing Trufant does, runs a sub-4 440. So if he's still got that speed and Trufant is on him, I understand that Trufant might be mixed around and everything like that, but I do have a little bit of trepidation with Cooks. And then the problem with Demaryius Thomas is the double coverage of he's going to, like, I know Hayward doesn't usually shadow, but now we're going to get Hayward and probably double coverage. I know the target should be through the roof, but at the same time, I don't know if that's going to offset how much defensive attention he's going to get.
So should I rank Benny Fowler inside of my top 10 then?
No, absolutely not.
So who would be the guys that I would move up into this range? Because I have Cooks at 8, I have Thomas at 7. Like, should I put Chris Hogan ahead of Cooks?
I like Chris Hogan in front of Cooks. You haven't got to one of the guys. I would rank Tyreek Hill going against the Oakland secondary much higher. I would have Tyreek Hill inside your top 10.
I just worry on a short week with like sort of the dizzy spell that he went through at the end of the game. I know they're saying it's not a concussion, although it's really looked like a concussion, that he might not be up to full snuff here.
I could understand that, but put it this way. If he's missing practice later today, we haven't got the practice report. It doesn't look like for today yet on Tuesday, since it is the short week and that's what they're playing. I would be on the page with you, but as of right now, I'm putting him inside the top 10, and I would still keep Jordy Nelson ahead of those two guys, even with Hundley at quarterback.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the Packers situation. I mean, obviously it affects all of them negatively because they don't have the best quarterback in the league throwing the ball still. But Jordy Nelson, weirdly enough, when Aaron Rodgers hasn't played, RotoViz put out sort of the in-split, out-of-split. Jordy Nelson's actually been really good without Aaron Rodgers. It's kind of everyone else who hasn't been as good.
Yeah, it's 100%, and that's my biggest concern. We talked about it. You brought up the fantasy radio. I was talking about it on Target yesterday, and I said that my biggest concern in this offense isn't Jordy Nelson. I think Randall Cobb kind of evens out to a flat. He's going to see more targets to get that ball out quick, give him the easy routes for Hundley, but maybe the touchdown potential and the yards aren't there what Aaron Rodgers had. But when I say touchdown potential, the person I think is affected the most is Davante Adams, because Davante Adams was coming off a touchdown-dependent season last year. People were saying there's no way he could do it this year. I was one of those people who were saying, you're wrong, and that's what he was doing it all over again, and now at the end of the year, it's going to look like it's wrong because I don't think he has that anymore. I don't think Hundley's going to be doing what Aaron Rodgers was for him, and I think he's the one that gets hit the most. And I think that Adams is the one that would fall an entire tier to me. Jordy Nelson goes from being that mid-level wide receiver 1 to low-end wide receiver 1. I think Adams is the one that gets killed.
All right, so I'll bump down Cooks and DT. I'll put Hogan ahead of Cooks. I think he made a very compelling argument there. And I just like Chris Hogan. He's just been really good every single week, except for last week. don't worry about that one. That was just a blip, an aberration. And I'll move Jordy back up ahead of those guys. I think that point was very well made. So the rest of the top 20, it goes at 11, Jordy Nelson. Obviously, these will be updated at dkplaybook.com. Hogan, Baldwin, Hill, Keenan Allen, Alshon Jeffrey, Kelvin Benjamin, Michael Crabtree, Jarvis Landry. That is assuming Parker plays, but it's probably still somewhat limited. And then I'm going to stick with Devontae Adams at number 20. He did score the touchdown last week against Minnesota with Brett Hundley. I don't think he's going to be a disaster, but you're right about the touchdown upside being capped. But I still like him significantly more than I like Randall Cobb.
No, I'm with you. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we could even lose only just 10% of his production and the touchdowns keep coming. He's that kind of guy because I have a lot invested in Devontae Adams. It's just going from, like I said, Aaron Rodgers to Hundley. Nobody in the world, even if there floated rumors out there that they were going to potentially trade for Eli Manning, hell, Rodgers to Eli Manning is going to hurt this offense. It's just Aaron Rodgers. So I hope I'm wrong. Maybe everything I talked about, this pocket can give him plenty of time and Hundley can stay in the pocket and not have to worry too much, and then we can see better days from him. But, yeah, I think that's fair. I think he deserves to still be a low-end wide receiver, too, absolutely. And the only thing in that rank is that the only one I'm a little bit worried about is the Doug Baldwin, West Coast to East Coast. And I know they had the bye week, and I know that's a narrative and all that type of stuff, but there's that concern. And the fact is Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie is coming back and is still one of the best slot corners in the league, and that's where Doug Baldwin does a lot of his work. And maybe he's fired up after being fired up and getting kicked off the team. So, again, I know I'm creating a lot of ifs here, but it's just – you could see how that plays out and why I would just feel a little bit better. I would have Tyreek Hill higher, and I would definitely play Keenan Allen and Crabtree over Doug Baldwin.
I would definitely not play Crabtree. I think that would be the tier. But I understand your case. Yeah, the west to east. Yeah, I'll go Baldy down, and I'll move Keenan Allen, Hill and Allen ahead of him. But I'll put him right on that tier ahead of Alshon Jeffrey, who I can't figure out for the life of me. I have him ranked at 16. I don't even know if he's any good.
He's good. I just don't think Carson Wentz needs him. And Carson Wentz is just going to Carson Wentz is going to Zach Ertz and then whatever's open.
So should I bump down Alshon Jeffrey? I don't even know what to do with him. If I have him on my team, I'm playing him. But
I'm looking at your rankings right now. I would play Landry, Adams, Matthews. That's probably maybe Garcia. He's right there. Honestly, he's right there with Garcon for me now.
Well, what do you make with guilty Beathard now at quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers? Do you think that helps or hurts Pierre Garcon?
I think it hurts, obviously, just from – look, Beathard's not good. That's the problem. He's not a good quarterback. So I think that hurts him, but similar to the Randall Cobb situation I was talking about with Hundley, where he could just be getting fed 10, 12 targets per game, and then you only have to catch half of them. So – I'd start Jeffrey over Garcon, but the situation is different but similar in their results, I think.
So 21-30, Pierre Garcon's number 21, then Rashard Matthews, then Robert Woods, T.Y. Hilton, Devin Funches, Danny Amendola, Devontae Parker, Mohamed Sanu against the Patriots, expected to be back this week, Terrell Pryor, Cooper Kupp. Do you think I'm going to be the highest person in the industry on Robert Woods?
Probably, but I'm not far behind you. I actually wrote him up already in my waiver column, and I actually already have my sleepers ready to go, and he's one of my sleepers for the week. I know. Just tell him 3 of the last 5 games. Tell him who's been the most consistent player for this team.
It's been Robert Woods. I mean, the target share continues to be there. He's the one guy that continues to not get written out of the script. And now we're talking about Arizona. I know the game's in London. That can get a bit wonky, but what do you not want to start against Arizona? Wide receiver 1s. Who's been killing Arizona the entire season? Wide receiver 2s and 3s. We saw it with Aguilar and Torrey Smith against Philadelphia. We saw it with Deshaun Jackson. Even Adam Humphries had a nice game against Arizona last week. So I see no reason why Robert Woods doesn't have the potential to soak in 7 to 9 targets here in a game where they're expected to, it's a close game. It's within 3.5 points in terms of the spread. They're going to have to pass a little bit. They can't just run Gurley every single time. And if it seems like that's going to be the case, it would go Robert Woods, then Cooper Kupp, then Sammy Watkins. Although, wouldn't this be the Sammy Watkins week where he's going to be shut down by Patrick Peterson, then all of a sudden he has 200 yards?
No, because it might be, but it might not be. What I was going to say is what could throw a wrench in this entire thing is if Patrick Peterson doesn't play.
Sure, but even then, they don't even throw to Sammy Watkins. They don't even look at Sammy Watkins.
But like you just said, when does Sammy Watkins should now, he's the Mark Ingram for you. He should be in worst place. He's the one that doesn't show up until everybody is so pissed off and has him on their bench.
I mean, Amari Cooper's trending that way too.
Well, Amari Cooper hasn't shown up, period. So.
I would still prefer Cooper over Sammy Watkins rest of the season, by the way, if people want to know my take on that.
Yes, 100% agree with you, 100%. And actually, for this game, I'll take the other Cooper, the Cooper Kupp, because the one area you just mentioned it is the 2s and the 3s just kill the Cardinals. A big part of that, too, has been out of the slot a lot of times. So Cooper Kupp could have a nice game as well.
It's funny because I have Cooper Kupp at number 30, Amari Cooper at number 31. Then John Brown, again from that Arizona Rams game, Ted Ginn, Marquise Lee, Robbie Anderson, Deshaun Jackson, Alan Hearns, Jermaine Kearse, Martavis Bryant, Benny Falla, and that goes into like Brandon Tate, who's apparently the number 1 on the Bills. I mean, Zay Jones might be the number 1 for the Bills, but he can't catch, so that's problematic, so Brandon Tate it is. Randall Cobb, the Sledgehammer, Taylor Gabriel in that Patriots game, Aguilar, Cole Beasley, Ricardo Louis, Bryce Butler, Mike Wallace, Juju, Irwin R. Shyster. I mean, he might be the number 2 in Pittsburgh now that Martavis Bryant wants a trade.
And then, oh no, I love Pittsburgh and all that nonsense. Who cares? Juju Smith-Schuster's been outplaying you. So if you want to trade, if you want to get it the hell out of here, whatever. It's Ben Roethlisberger as well. The only thing that we can hope for here is, hey, guess what? They're back home, and it's not a matchup like the Jaguars. So maybe Good Ben and Martavis Bryant in a big play can actually connect for once.
Potentially, but I mean, I'm going to stop holding my breath on that, because if he doesn't get the big play, he's actually useless.
Did I not emphasize maybe enough? Should I have done it long? Should I say maybe? Is that better?
Like, do I have Martavis Bryant too high or too low at 39?
As of right now, I would say too high.
I mean, I would still play him because of that big play potential, and that's what would give him the 39 ranking. But, like, I'm not trusting him whatsoever, and maybe I should make the sort of the same case about Amari Cooper, but I actually have more faith in the Oakland offense turning it around than the Steelers morphing back into being the awesome Steelers. Plus, you know, Roethlisberger will throw to Brown, and then he'll probably throw to Bell. Then he'll throw to Martavis Bryant. He's a number 3 pecking order option, at least in terms of who gets the ball in that offense. Where at least on Oakland, it's still Crabtree Cooper, although just Crabtree's more consistent.
No, 100%. Hey, you want me to? Can I play Twitter with you real quick and do the why do you hate Nelson Aguilar?
I just don't trust Nelson Aguilar.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm at number 44. It's probably the high. I've been horribly low on Aguilar based on his performance all year. But like, even when I watch these games, I'm just like, I can't believe he's doing stuff.
Well, and if you watch a lot of the plays, it's like, I can't count on that every game. And then
it just happens again.
Yeah, it's like Tyreek Hill from last year. It's like, well, like, guess it's going to keep happening. Here's the one thing, the matchup-wise, is that people don't give the Redskins secondary enough credit, even without Josh Norman.
I agree. I actually thought they would be a bit more Civ-like without him last week. And maybe, I mean, they looked decent against the 49ers passing offense, but that could just be a product of the 49ers passing offense being brutal.
Right.
So it's really hard to tell. This will be a good test for them. I'm excited to watch that game, actually. Anyone else you think that we should talk about? I'm not sure if Albert Wilson's going to end up playing this week. So now Tyreek Hill's dealing with a bit of case of the dizzies. They play Thursday night. No Albert Wilson. Conley out for the season. Like, are you looking at like DeAnthony Thomas as a potential like 16-team like deep flyer?
No, I actually think that there's one that you mentioned. I mean, you actually already said in the list. I don't think you have to dig that deep because his ownership percentage is super low. But well, it's dropped further. Is the Bees out of the slot in this matchup?
Oh, really? You like Beasley?
Yeah, I think this is a match. This is one of those weeks where the matchup points in his favor. To your point, if there is no Ezekiel Elliott, and this turns into a passing game. There's
no way Ezekiel is playing, is there?
I would love to say that, but the way things have gone in the end, I'm done trying to figure this. I almost cursed. I was done trying to figure this stuff out.
Do you have any, like, if we talk about, like, Marquise Goodwin and Eldrick Robinson, like, who do you think gets affected the most by Beathard being the quarterback now?
Everybody. The only person it's just Garcon. He's not a good quarterback. I'm not trying to be a jerk or being coy or being flippant or whatever. He's not a good quarterback. I don't think the only person I have hope for is Garcon, and again, for the fact that he hopefully peppers him with targets and tries to use the middle of the field. I actually think the only upside I see here is Kittle and Garcon.
Do you think that Sterling Shepard plays this week? Because I do not.
I don't. I think they hold it. Look, what are the Giants? I know they just got a win, and yay, good for the team, and camaraderie, and all whatever nonsense. It's the Seahawks. It's the Seahawks secondary. Do you really want to play him anyway as the number one? Because we've seen the fact that, yes, he's been good, but he's obviously seen a big impact with and without Odell Beckham on the field to help him out with coverage-wise. I wouldn't want to start him anyway. I think the Giants are smart and good. The bye is coming up next week. Just keep him out.
All right, let's switch to quarterbacks. We got to go rapid fire because Jake is on a very tight time schedule here, so I should probably talk a bit faster. Number 1 at quarterback, Brady, Ryan, Breeze, Prescott, Alex Smith, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, Carson Wentz, Tyrod Taylor, and Derek Carr. I guess of all the streamers, if you lost Aaron Rodgers or you're dealing with Deshaun Watson on bye week or Matt Stafford on bye week, Tyrod Taylor is my favorite of the guys that you can go pick up. Plus, he has a super easy schedule coming up, so if you pick him up now and you're an Aaron Rodgers owner, it gives you a bit of breathing room, I feel like, despite the fact that he has no one to throw to. I think he can either throw to Shady or do a bit of it himself and maybe hit one deep one to potentially someone we've never heard of because he plays for the Bills. But that would be my guy. Do you have anyone else in there that you can just kind of go grab?
It's a very tough week if you're streaming quarterbacks, and Tyrod Taylor's at the top of the list. The rest of the options are Jacoby Brissett's getting Jacksonville, so that's miserable. The only thing I would have, and I'll quick fire back to you, is I would have Russell Wilson a little bit lower because of the Giants, and I would actually play both Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota, who we're going to talk about, above him.
I just like Russell Wilson coming off a bye. He's going to be healthy.
I know, but I also like the matchups.
You really like the Philly matchup for Kirk Cousins. I just feel like he's going to be on his back so much.
I know, but we've said that before, and the Philadelphia secondary has just been the floodgates.
And you're in on Mariota? Like, you think he's fine now?
I am. Hey, look, he came out unscathed from that game, and you talk about matchup. Cleveland Browns, yes.
I just feel like they're going to run it down the Browns' throats.
You know, that's the only area where they're semi-good, and I say semi-good, and so I understand that, and that's always the potential. I just think Mariota can be so effective and efficient. You know what? If you want to play Russell Wilson over Mariota, I'm not going to argue. I think Cousins is the one I'm most adamant about.
All right, well, you've sold me. I'll move Wilson down. Although now I'm going to miss out on his 7 touchdown game where 5 of them are rushing or something stupid like that because I listened to you. Although if I listen to
the Giants knock off the Broncos and come back and get torched by Wilson,
would it surprise you?
No, it wouldn't.
All right, so for the rest of that range, it does go Cousins, Mariota, then Palmer, Rivers, Hundley, Kaiser, CJ Guilty Beathard, and then McCown, Goff, Case Keenum. Like I actually think of all the streamers this week against New Orleans, Hundley's not a terrible play.
No, he's not a terrible play at all. Especially, here's the only concern, as I said, he needs that clean pocket. The Saints have been getting after the quarterback.
Yeah, that they have. They swung me a few weeks last week, that defense. But I always like their defense better indoors than outdoors.
Yep.
So maybe the pressure won't be as significant. But the more we talk about this during the week, I just think if you're in a spot, he's not terrible to use. I mean, as much pressure as they got on Stafford last week, it's not like Stafford had a bad fantasy game.
No, you're right. You're 100% right.
All right, let's quickly switch to tight ends because we have Gronk, Ertz, Jimmy Graham, Delaney Walker in that glorious matchup against the Browns, Travis Kelce, Evan Ingram, Cameron Brate, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, Kyle Rudolph, and George Kittle-Me-Timbers. I think that he's probably the biggest benefactor here, at least in terms of volume. He's sort of like Austin Seferian-Jenkins in a weird way now.
Yeah, you're 100% right. That's what I was saying. Is Bethard or whatever his name is.
Beathard.
I think
his name is until he's good. His name is Beathard.
I think that if you look at that, that's what you expect them to go to. Inexperienced and rookie quarterbacks, they love their tight ends.
What do we do with Jordan Reed?
You play him if you have him, but this is the unfortunate situation you put yourself in if you drafted him.
I guess so. I would play Hunter Henry over him this week, and I almost put Austin Hooper over him just against the Patriots, knowing that there's
Austin Hooper's seen the uptick the last 2 weeks. The only concern I have is if
Sanu's back. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons that he's been seeing more volume has been the lack of Mohamed Sanu.
Yep.
So I just think in this game there's going to be enough to go around against the Patriots defense that I think he's a quality play, but I find it very difficult to bench Jordan Reed for Austin Hooper.
I'm with you. I find it hard to not have Jordan Reed even higher, but I understand why you have the guys you do.
And listen, until Jordan Reed shows us like a Jordan Reed type game, he's staying outside the top 10.
And that's fair.
Anyone from below that range that you would really go to in terms of tight end streams? Like, I think I probably mentioned the guys like Kittle is probably the best one to go pick up. Austin Seferian-Jenkins is now like 75% owned, but he sort of needs to be completely owned. Brate is still widely available. People should probably be using him at this point. He just catches a touchdown, 3 out of every 4 games. That's going to put you and make you a top 10 tight end. Anyone from down, though, like Zach Miller, Ben Watson, Vernon Davis, because I had this big thing with Cust on Monday about Trubisky. Like, the guy just doesn't throw enough. Like, I don't want anyone involved in that offense that isn't a running back.
Yeah, a lot of people dropped and fell off on Jack Doyle when he got hurt. I'd pick up him immediately if he still happens to be floating out there. Zach Miller, I do like, but like you said, the biggest problem is I'm looking at that 5 for 12 at one point, or like didn't he finish the game somewhere around there? I just think that you can't. To your point, is yes, I would feel better about Zach Miller if he would at least throw the ball 20, 25 times a game.
What about someone like Tyler Kroft now that Eifert's done for the season? Do you think he becomes a bigger part of the Cincinnati offense, or because John Ross is back, all of the running backs are healthy, that he just kind of gets phased out and you're never going to know what week to play him?
No, that's what it is. But at tight end, you're just speculating dart throwing for touchdowns, and he's probably any of these guys that you're talking about in that group. He's got the most potential for a touchdown out of all of them.
He probably has the lowest floor of those guys too, though.
Yes.
So
yes.
I guess
he could go over easy.
Yeah, that's probably what you want to mix and match with. He's definitely the one who's most likely to catch 2 touchdowns of this like 12 to 20 range, but he's also probably the one who could go 0 for 0 for 0.
Yeah.
All right, defenses before we get out of here, because Jake, you got to run. I go the LA Rams, number 1 over in London, England. Their pass rush has been excellent, and again, like I said, anytime that you can play against Carson Palmer and you have a defensive line where you can get him off his spot, he's not going to be good. And as we saw with fantasy defenses last week, it doesn't really matter if you put up points. As long as you're scoring points, not an issue. And I can see the Rams defense doing that this time around. Then I go to the Jags, Seahawks, Chiefs, Steelers, Panthers, Bills, Titans, Chargers, and the Miami Dolphins against the New York Jets. I think they'll be able to bring a bit of pressure there too, and the offensive line for the Jets just has not been very good. They just haven't been facing a lot of opponents who've been able to exploit that. Who are some of your favorite defenses this week?
You listed most of them. I'm with you. I have the Jaguars tops, but I have Arizona right up there too. I think you mentioned I'll give you my 2 sneaky ones. Is you actually have Miami pretty high. I think they're a sneaky defense. They've been pretty strong this year. And then you don't even have listed at all. I list the Cowboys. I think they're a sneaky play this week.
I don't know, man. Their defense sucks.
It does, but time off. They're not the true travel east to west because of the time off. They'll be able to get out there and game plan and be able to get after the quarterback situation. Again, Bethard stinks.
I mean, Hoyer stinks too. Let's be real. And I love Brian Hoyer, but he was not good this year.
No, he wasn't. It was surprising.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there are enough other available defenses on the waiver wire. Like, I would just much rather go with Miami over Dallas here.
Oh, absolutely. You're in a deep league where some of those crazy people own 2 defenses for half the season.
Trade you my defense. I got a defense trade. Cousin Sal in Legal Leagues offered me Washington's defense for Ricardo Louis last week.
Oh, that's not even. I got one. Somebody offered me one for Marshawn Lynch, and I don't want Marshawn Lynch on my team anymore, but I'm not trading for a damn defense.
I actually gave it some hard consideration because I didn't have a defense, and I wasn't sure because I really wanted to play Washington last week, which turned out not to be a good move. But Devontae Parker got taken out, so I had to use Louis, and I was like, I'll probably end up cutting him after next week anyway. I might as well trade for a defense. And I almost accepted it. And I was like, no, let's back off this a little bit.
Smart move.
Yeah, because Ricardo Louis really torched it up last week. I think he had a whole 25 yards. Impressive stuff.
Ooh.
Anyway, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Follow Jake on Twitter @AllenKid. Check out all of his work up on RotoExperts.com, including his rankings, which drop, midnight on Tuesday?
Yep.
Fun times had by all.
Yes, always fun times had it all. I'm tired.
You're tired, yeah. Well, you spent all that time in the airport.
And driving from Richmond.
How far is Richmond from, your place?
About an hour 40.
Gross. Is there a lot of traffic?
No, because it was midnight.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Tell everyone where they can catch you this week, besides your work on RotoExperts.com.
Yeah, you said @AllenKid on Twitter, and then Fantasy Sports Radio 4 to 6 every day. Yay, the award-winning On Target, and then on Sunday mornings 11 till noon for the Lineup Lock Live show.
Yeah, and we're going head-to-head because we're now going 11 till noon on DKTV, the Draftkings Facebook page. I'll be live from 11 till noon, chatting it up with Koff and Pierce Dietrich, talking about the best Draftkings plays of the week and breaking down all the inactives as soon as they happen. Plus, you can follow all my work on Facebook.com/ThePME, @ThePME, on Twitter and Instagram. Plus, you can subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience on the Draftkings YouTube page for the video version and the audio versions, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Audio Boom. Anywhere where you can download stuff, you can get the Pat Mayo Experience on demand, uncut, always for free. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck this week. I'll see you next time.